Okay, so obviously that's not true. But either way, I wanted to do a little bit of an update video on the Extralite CyberDisc 38. After I released the first video, the next ride I did, as I was riding downhill and stopped pedaling, I realized my chain had a lot of slack in it. So immediately went home and took a closer look on the Freehub, and I could feel the Freehub wasn't spinning at all as smooth as it was supposed to. So as I didn't have the best of luck with these hubs from the get-go, it was definitely time to shoot Extralite an email and explain the problems I had. Luckily, they are really on point with their support and they stand by their product 100%. After a few mails back and forth explaining everything and showing them some small clips of my issue, they said they had a very limited amount of instances where the tolerances had been off on the XT driver Freehub, and when either the Freehub or the cassette itself was just a little bit off, it could cause the problem I had. So there was no arguments or anything. They offered me immediately to send me either a new bearing to try and fit that myself, or a complete Freehub assembly to replace that one I had. I mean, not being that experienced with bearing replacement, at least in hubs, I decided to go for that Freehub, and a shot in the dark, I asked them if it was possible to swap that XT driver for a Shimano one instead. And while I didn't really expect them to go along with that, there were no issues there at all. They said no problem. So after about 10 days, I had a new Freehub in the post all the way from Italy to Japan. So I can definitely not complain about the support. Big thumbs up from me. This also gave me a good opportunity to disassemble the hub and see how hard or easy it will be to service this in the future. So let's check that out. So servicing the Extralite CyberHub's SPD2 is pretty straightforward. While not totally tool-free like the DT Swiss for example, the only thing you need to replace or service the Freehub is two 17mm closed wrenches or a standard 17mm socket to unscrew the end caps. Simply hold the non-drive side with one wrench while undoing the drive side cap from the axle with the other. After that's done, you can simply pull the Freehub body from the axle, and that's really all there is to it. Just watch out for that O-ring seal that will sit on the Freehub body, as it can come loose when removing the Freehub body from the hub. So this is a good opportunity to take a look at how Extralite get these hubs down to the insane weight that they are. And as you can see, the pawl design is really simple, with only two pawls that use a rubber O-ring to keep them engaged in the hub. So it will be crucial to keep an eye on these every time I open up these for a service. Extralite also sells these parts separate if something would need to be replaced. You know, stuff wears with time, can't get away from that fact. Here I could feel the outer bearing was not really spinning smoothly at all. The inner bearing was silky smooth, so there's no question that the outer bearing was what caused my issue here. And as I said, the support I received from Extralite was brilliant, and within 10 days the new complete Freehub body arrived. And as I mentioned, they were kind enough to replace the XT driver version with a Shimano version instead. An extra cup of their aqua grease and a sticker was also a welcome surprise. Comparing the two Freehubs, you can definitely see that the Shimano version has a lot more material around the outer bearing, and Extralite also mentioned that they had not had any of these issues with the Shimano version. Both the inner and outer bearing on the new Freehub were super smooth, as one would expect. Of course, I needed to check the weight as well, and as you can see, the Shimano hub is about 3 to 4 grams heavier, and I guess I have to swallow that. Since I didn't have that much riding on these hubs before I realized the issue I had, the hub itself was not in a huge need of a clean, so I just wiped off most of the old grease with a paper towel and applied a new layer with the help of a paintbrush. Extralite says to only use their own aqua grease that comes with the wheels or hubs, as that grease doesn't contain any chemicals that can affect the rubber O-rings used in this Freehub. The new Freehub came prepped with grease around the pawls, so I didn't need to add any more grease to the Freehub itself. I did make sure that the axle was nice and greased up though before I put the new Freehub body back on. Installing the Freehub is almost as simple as taking it off. You only need to push the pawls in with something pointy and it should slide into the hub without much force. a bit of grease on the end cap. And I'll use my torque wrench to tighten this down to around 7.5 Newton meters. The recommended range is 7 to 8. So in my first video I mentioned that I saved quite a bit of weight going with the SRAM cassette compared to my old XT cassette. And I couldn't bring myself to put that old XT cassette back and add all the weight on. So I sold another piece of my kidney and picked up the 11 to 40 XTR cassette. And as you can see, I actually saved a few more grams on that. I will obviously lose that 10 tooth that's on the SRAM cassette, which is not really a big deal for me. And at the low end, I will go from a 36 and a 42 to a 35 and a 40, which also I don't think will be much of an issue for me, as this will be my road solution. I don't really use that 1-to-1 ratio that much, even on the steeper climb, unless I'm pretty much bonked. So I don't think that will be a huge issue for me. On the gravel setup, I will still use my XT42 cassette, and when going for longer bike packing adventures, I have my Sunrace 46 cassette, so that should cover me for a while. The one gear I am a bit bummed about losing is the 12 tooth cog that's on the SRAM. I might try and customize the XTR cassette like I did in my XT cassette to get that 12 tooth back, but we'll see what happens in the future. Oh, it's starting to rain now. So now that I have the new Freehub and Cassette on this wheel, they've been working brilliantly for the last couple of rides, including a few longer ones, one 200k, 3,800 meters of climbing. And it's on the climbs that these wheels definitely are coming into their own. I mean, yeah, they climb so damn nice, feels so light and fluffy. Unfortunately, they don't make my legs stronger, but it's always a good little extra nudge. And the new cassette is so silent, so silent. I didn't know what I was thinking. I am super picky about noisy bikes though, so I'm not claiming that SRAM is super noisy or anything. It's just that I'm super picky when it comes to this. So if you see my first ride video on them, you know that I had some issues with the preload not being perfect out from the factory. I had that sorted now, and with the Freehub sorted as well, and having such a good experience dealing with Extralite customer support, knowing that they stand behind their product 100%, I can say that I'm super happy with these wheels now, and I wouldn't really hesitate to recommend these wheels if you're looking to drop some serious amount of weight. They are not cheap by any means, but there are a lot more expensive wheels out there. MV, Roval, Bontrager, any of those wheels are a lot more expensive than these wheels, and they don't even come close in terms of weight. But I also stand by my statement from the first video. If you're looking for a more robust, like do-it-all kind of set and forget wheel, you probably should look elsewhere, as you need to put in some efforts to keep these wheels top-notch condition. Extralite themselves recommends that you at least service these every 6 months if you're riding in nice and dry conditions, and if you're riding more in wet conditions, you should at least double that to once every 3rd month or something like that. So that's definitely a thing to take in consideration. I think that's it for this update video. It's starting to rain now, so I need to head home. I don't have any rain gear with me, damn it. So if you found this interesting, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more content. I have something that's on this bike now that might be featured in the next video. Hint, hint. And if you do decide to subscribe, I will catch you in the next one. Peace. Oh, why don't you give me more strength? God damn it.